In my sermon last Sunday, I shared about Psalm 31 and how it was one of three psalms that Jesus on the cross either quoted directly or referred to. So I thought it would be appropriate to end this week by reading from Luke chapter 23, verses 44 to 49, where Jesus speaks the words from Psalm 31, verse 5. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Having said this, he breathed his last. When the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God and said, "Certainly this man was innocent." And when all the crowds who had gathered there for this spectacle saw what had taken place, they returned home beating their breasts. But all his acquaintances, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. The death of Jesus on the cross is arguably the most difficult scene, if you will, that we have in the Bible, certainly one of the worst. And it's not an accident, I don't think, that Jesus in his final moments, in his final breaths, that he quoted Psalm 31. Because Jesus had committed his life into the hands of God. He had committed his spirit to God from the beginning. And so it wasn't a stretch for him as he approached death to commit his spirit to God once again. And as I said in my sermon, it's far easier to commit our spirit to God at the time of our death if we have committed ourselves to God throughout our life, or at least from whenever we first came to faith, from then on. And in quoting Psalm 31, for his followers and those who were present and could hear him, Jesus is evoking the whole psalm. And if you go back and read Psalm 31 in light of Jesus' experience on the cross, then you understand why he's asking God to be a refuge and a fortress for him, why he's asking God's protection from enemies, why he feels Jesus on the cross like a broken vessel, and with all the mocking that takes place, why he speaks of a psalm that mentions lying lips and those who speak haughtily and insolently. And yet Psalm 31 ends with that affirmation that God has heard and delivered, and with the encouragement to be bold and courageous. And so you can hear Jesus' last words on the cross, not just as his death and the giving up of his spirit, but as a reminder to his followers to be strong and courageous, even in the aftermath of his passing.